Process.audio.
Hello, fellow music makers. I am gathered here today to show you how to wrap your head around sugar really quickly. Here's the deal. You have 4 bands, low, medium, high, and air. And every band have 2 separate colors. 4 bands, 2 colors per band. To use a band, raise the fader, like a fader. And then to change colors, just click what you want. The spirit is this. Raise the fader, like what you hear? Wonderful. Don't? Try punch. Wonderful. Don't like it? Move on to the next band. Raise it, try the color. That's the spirit of the plugin. It's an enhancer. If the enhancement works for you, and we think it's going to work for you most of the time, great. If it doesn't, the one next door should work. By the way, the crossover band filters in Sugar are phase linear by default, so there are no worries about the integrity of your source track. This is mastering compatible. Next interesting things. Say you're in love with this sound. Poof, 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 poof. So that's great, but it's a little too much or a little not enough. Well, you can use the big knob in the middle and jack it up or take it down without having to move 4 faders. Very nice. Next interesting thing. Sugar works in stereo or in MS. When you work in MS, you could raise just the center of the bottom or just the center of the medium, or maybe just the sides of the high to widen your mix. Very practical. If, say, you're in stereo and you love this look and you'd like to be able to adjust it a little bit in MS, you command-click on the MS button and your settings are copied, and then you can go up or down just on the sides, using your stereo settings as a base. Conversely, say you're here and you switch to MS, you can actually A/B stereo versus MS if you do not hold command when you switch between the two. How nice is that? It's nice. Next interesting thing. The filters are very useful. Sugar brings a lot of energy into your signal. So for example, if you have an 808 bass drum and you jack up 45 points of the low band, you're going to get into trouble. But you like some of that trouble. Turn the filter on and high pass the bottom. If you don't want to shave too much of that trouble, go into steep mode. So we have high and low pass linear filters with a gentle slope or a steep slope, so you can control the energy right after the processes. It's important to keep in mind that Sugar's high and low pass filters are linear phase. That means you can use them on multi-mic sources, like a bass drum, for example, without fear of losing bottom or having phase problems. Next interesting thing. There are 3 very useful distortion circuits. A drive, which is more of a saturation, distort, which starts to be a little more hairy, and crush, which is just what it says. So you could pick a level of distortion, and you can actually switch in between the different types, and they are as level meshed as humanly possible. And they are very useful for the saturation stuff, but also for special effects when you go like over 50. You know, it's like on the American highway. When you go over 50 is when it becomes interesting. We spent a lot of time making sure that Sugar is intuitive and useful and on your side of the battle. For example, if you want to add some saturation, you can just raise the level and Sugar will turn it to drive on automatically for you. Same for the filters. Just raise your high pass filter and Sugar will turn the filters on for you because, you know, if you're going to raise the filter, it's most likely that you're going to need them on. A good place to start learning what Sugar does is to look at the tooltips that are provided for your reading pleasure all over the interface. You can turn them off in preferences when you become a Sugar master. Here's a good one. Say you're a bit of a hooligan. Nobody in your room, but somebody in this room might be. And you want to add a lot of low-end energy. You may want to turn the level management on. What that does is it will lower the output level of the whole plugin, conversely, to make sure you don't blow up the next plugin or your output stage, which is nice. And last but not least for this sprint tour of what Sugar can do for you is the FX Only button. Whenever you're wondering what Sugar can do for you, just press the FX Only button and you'll hear just the effect and none of the direct signal, which allows you to tailor what you're doing, especially maybe with the high and low pass filters, and then release the FX Only button and listen to the glory of Sugar all in one.
Process.audio.